you have returned. At last upon your time, I presume, and certainly one of the more determined of us. Not that any of us have been undetermined, of course. Oh, no, not at all. But I suspect that it's rather different for you, because he's out there, isn't he? But we'll get to that in time. For now, I have to tell you a story. It's a story that has happened, or might happen, or... oh, what does it matter? Time is a rather different matter in here, in this expanse of consciousness that stretches away from nothing to the faraway shores of eternity. So, here is the story. The story of the lighthouse. There is, or was, or will be, a woman. For the sake of the tale, we shall say was. There was a woman. She stood there, upon the cavern of unwinding, upon the last October, with that troublesome master by her side, staring up at the statuette remains of the last Daleks. The moment was coming for her, as draconians and sea devils looked back upon the swirling sands of time, as even sands ceased to be, and high above, the Thejarians loomed, as a painful reminder of that impending fate. To her left was the master, all right, but to her right was Ian Jr., well, a descendant of that dear Chesterfield, and Ian all the same, ready not to fight, not to teach, but instead just to be there in those moments with the woman. But baby, the rain must fall. So it was sung long before. The cavern of unwinding unwound. And there, as the cliffs of eternity tore away, and the temple of Atropos was divided into 6, there stood the lighthouse at the end of reality. Built by Vindiclair and Longbarrow, of course. You know who they are, Yes, I do not think I need to spell out the obvious particulars of the past. The woman stepped through the unwound cavern's surface, crossing the Mobius loop, and passing the pillars of the constant separatrix to take her place with the rest. From left to right they stood, the human, the second grandfather, the cosmic clownish one, the dapper defender, the curls and scarf. Then herself next to him, followed by the negotiator with his cricketer's attire covered, and the blonde one, wearing a cap and darker clothes. They stood in front of the lighthouse, whilst inside it, upon the glimmering blue of the last shimmers of the space-time vortex, the weary mastermind and the bowman stood. Upon the walls, up the stairs, were portraits. Portraits of the warrior, the lost one, the adventurer, the playful fighter, the old magician, and the timeless survivor. Then, at the top stood the familiar face and the surprised young man. But who could tell who was who? Can you? One would think not, and nor would it matter, for all the faces mixed and merged in the spiraling walls as the lighthouse beamed at the last corners of reality. And someone sat watching, painting the moment as best they could, not for appreciation, or for fame, or for posterity, but instead, simply because they always wanted to be a painter, even at the very end. In those last moments, they all held contact with each other. The last that Jarian looked up, the sea of faces smiled, and that was the end. Do you perhaps see the point? The first lesson of being here in the edge? Oh, in fact, I rather think that you do already. But it is the way that we do these things, by our stories, our tales, our lessons, such as it always has been. And so, I speak this tale as I do. I mean, you will have noticed the differential. No time here, and yet my face is not as it was. It never quite stays the same, for we are melding into each other in ways. It matters not the date of the events, or if they are fated to play out that way, for we are all part of that thread, that line, that light that shines from the lighthouse. Which form a tale will take, how it comes to be, how it ends. Ultimately, our destiny is, as always, in the stars. Try to remember that, but of course you will. You know the value of a face, of a life, Cats may see better than us in our existence out there, but in here, in this realm, sight matters little, reflection a lot. And so long as you remember all the people that you used to be, being a guardian here is quite simple. Yes, quite simple indeed. Anyway, it's high time I was off. Got to let the next one along impart their words, as we all must. But before I go, I must say, let us not forget the person who painted the lighthouse in those last moments. They cared not for who they were at birth, not for what life had done for them, but instead for what they had been able to make of life after they were no longer told by the world what to be. They were not the best of painters, or the worst, nor to be remembered by the world as a painter, but they painted regardless. And with that, I bid you adieu. Ah, hello there. Wasn't that quite the story? You must forgive the attire, but well, it'll all make sense in the end. You not to place value upon our faces, and instead upon our actions. But we are rather the complicated person, always have been. You know, Madame Nostradamus once said to me, when I went back from another scarf, that we were more of a complicated knit of things than anything she had ever knitted for me. Pity people didn't listen to her more often. Her husband spoke nonsense, of course, but she had some gems of wisdom and foresight. So it comes time to tell of how our actions are far more than we often realize. Let me tell you a tale of a place, a rather surprising place, forgotten by some, revered by others, centre of many a myth by the 49th century, and though a prison for some, a vast collection of knowledge for others. A place called Cambridge.